We have a new official PlayStation podcast, episode 515. Long live Super Mirth.
Hey folks, Heart of Democracy update goes live May 20th. I am talking to you on the eve of it. We're just under, I want to say, like 16 hours before it rolls out. Obviously, we want to talk about the update. We want to talk about Helldivers 2. Who better than production director Alex Bull? Hello, sir.
Hello.
And design director Nicholas Malmborg.
Yes. Hello.
Hello. Gents, thank you very much indeed for joining me today. Like I said, time's ticking. You folks are slightly busy, but we did want to sort of break down what players can expect over the coming days. Just before that, tee us up here. Alex, Nicholas, can you just give us a quick rundown of your particular job role at Arrowhead Studios and what your role has been with this particular update?
Sure. You want to kick it off, Nicholas?
Yeah. How much time do I have? It could be a long description, but usually I say that my role is to make sure game good.
Please tell me that's on your business card.
I don't have any business cards actually, so maybe I should make some. No, but it's a lot of like coordinating, making sure what we deliver and like what we develop in the future like lines up well with the vision, making sure it's a good game experience, like how we it's like the fantasy, the vision of what is Helldivers 2, like how do you make that gameplay wise and how does it play as well as it possibly can. It's the short version, I guess. I'm getting into details just gets confusing, even for me.
And sir?
I'm trying to find the equivalent of... I'm trying to make sure the devs do good, but that would be a bit too reductive for them. Well, I'm the production director on Helldivers 2. I've been around for 3 years. I consider myself as a problem solver. That's what producers do. They make sure that the team can release the games and the updates on time, help the directors to transform the vision into something tangible. We work a lot with the teams to make sure we raise all the risks, we centralize them. And on my side, it's a lot of, high-level roadmap, staffing, team structures. On this specific update, pretty much the same as the previous updates. Just
all right. I'm pretty sure they're gonna get to better questions soon, bro. Why do intros always suck, bro? It's like, what's your job? Make game good. Yeah, isn't that everyone's job?
Just making sure it ships, as we say. So yeah.
Let's sort of walk this back a little bit. How long has this update been cooking for?
When did we start looking at Arc 4?
It's about...
I think
half a year?
Yeah, half a year. The thing is, every time we build a new, what we call a story arc, it's really bundling a fantasy with the content and experience that we want to bring. So I think we really started to look at the fantasy, half a year ago, during last summer, maybe June. There is content in the update that I've been cooking for 8 years of development. It's things that we brought back from the ceiling, as we call it. The attic.
Or the cellar, depending on.
The ceiling. What am I saying?
But yeah, it's like when we even started the concept of Omens of Tyranny, like this was at the back of our heads, and some of the work started even at the same conception point.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then, like in the beginning, it's a few people, and then like as we become done with Omens of Tyranny, like there's more people available to do it. But I mean, even looking at like whatever future we have, like we cook a lot of stuff like sometimes more than a year in advance. Like it's different parts of it just from when you start concepting the idea, or then it's like you go into more and more specifics. You probably don't go into production, but we have so many things we want to do that we're gonna do, and we know a lot of them like already.
And Alex, you said that
I do think it's somewhat interesting. I feel like this is like a more of a boring part of the interview, but I do think it's somewhat interesting how early they start making these updates, because he said like they started coming up with it last June. That's almost a year, bro. Is it not? Is it not about to be June? Yeah, May, June. Yeah, so that's like almost a year. And that's probably just a few people conceptualizing it and putting the story together like a year ago. That's probably not all the devs working on it a year ago. Because I think a year ago was when Escalation of Freedom first dropped. So they were even still finishing that update at that time. But it is interesting. I don't know. I feel like this is a slower part of the interview, but it is interesting how long they work on things.
Some of this, at least, is being in your head for about 8 years now.
I don't know.
So is there a sense of that, I mean, was Super Earth always going to be invaded? Was Super Earth always going to be, there was going to be a war waged on the home turf?
You know, when you paint up a universe, then you start like, and present it to players. You just like, look at all these cool things. And it's like, you gotta give the player the opportunity to see all the interesting parts of it. And like you have all the story from the first game, and there, of course, like since it's a different type of galactic war, like you end up at Super Earth, etc. And it would be weird to do a second game where you will never get to visit it. So you have all of these like implied promises to the players, and we want to deliver as much as we can of that to make sure like that you really get to like touch and feel and experience everything that this game has to offer. The story, like you don't want to do a story where you just write stuff and then you're just like, imagine if you were this, like wouldn't that be cool? It's like, no, they want to be in it. So you want to go there as often as you can, as much as you can.
So sort of drilling down into the update itself. Well, let's set the scene. So, bit of a surprise as of time of talking last week, where Illuminate did appear out of the singularity, and it was a bit of a shock to people, and they set their sights on Earth. Now, for folk that dipped into the game, they were presented with a menu, if I believe, that stated that they were on their way to Earth. Planets were going to fall, but it seemed inevitable that they would touch down on Super Earth. All you could do is try and do as much damage as possible to this invasion force before they made landfall, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the idea. So was that effectively letting players know there's no way of stopping this? And there's no sense of, right, well, if we complete a certain amount of orders here, we can repel this.
Yeah, it's all hands on deck at this point, and that's really the feeling that we want to bring to the players. It's funny, I was playing this weekend with some friends, and they're like, "Alex, did you just crank up the difficulty randomly on a release?" And like, no, we're like, yes, it's difficult. Yeah, the Illuminates are bringing the whole cavalry from the flash mob to other enemies, and that's the point. They are invading. They're going.
Chat, what do you think is the most difficult faction right now? Is it Predator Strain, Firebots, or Squids? And I would say compare it to like Repel mission Squids, because I think the normal Squid missions have less spawns.
Going full speed, it's damage control at this point. Super Earth is getting a bit cocky about the success that they had first, so we're not that prepared this time.
It's also like if there was a promise like, oh, if you do your job well, you wouldn't actually get to see Super Earth. Like, people want to see Super Earth, so like we just tell them like, guys, we're going home.
Will people see, as it set out in that mission structure, do as much damage as possible?
When I'm talking about squids, I mean the repel mission, because the repel mission has a lot of spawns. The normal squid missions, I think the civilians eat the spawns, and it's not as many.
Will that have a tangible difference once the update rolls out?
Yeah. I mean, the great host, the strength of it, it is like we ballparked basically our strength, and then we'll see what if players can deal with it.
Yeah.
So, now it's up to the players at this point.
Yeah.
We've set the stage, and they get to do their thing.
It's without saying, this invasion is going to have long-term consequences for Super Earth, and we accounted for it.
Yeah.
It must be fun though, where we're obviously dancing around this, and by the time this airs, they'll be a few days into it. But it must be fun. We've seen this over that first year of Helldivers 2, where you've left things unsaid and just let the players discover stuff naturally. Is that part of the fun of this? Of just seeing that organic reaction to stuff in game?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot like you set a good stage for them, and then some players at some point think like, well, it's scripted or something, and then we try to make the important events not scripted. So, for instance, here it's like when this airs, like they'll be fighting, and they could lose Super Earth. We've accounted for it. Like we made sure that like that can happen, and or they might repel the invasion, which is also fun with as a developer sometimes when you like.
Okay, wait, that was interesting. He said he brought up how people say that the major order is scripted, and then he said we try to make sure the important events are not scripted. I feel like he kind of implied that some of them just are scripted. I feel like he implied that some of them are scripted, which is the repel mission, the like the new blitz where the ships land and you have to destroy like 50 of them. What's up, Solus?
You do a lot of work, and then you don't know.
No, it's not all scripted. So when I went to Arrowhead Studios, I specifically asked them about the bots. Remember Operation Disassembly or whatever? When we destroyed the bots from the galaxy. What I asked them was, did they actually mean to leave the bots out for only 2 days? Or like something along those lines. I forget exactly what I asked them, but because the bots were only gone for 2 days. And I was like, shouldn't the bots have been gone for like longer, for like a week or two? And how they ended up answering that was they said, we didn't even think you guys would beat the bots during that major order. We thought the bots were going to stay on the map. So like, and I feel like the way he answered this question is also reveals a lot. Like some of the major orders definitely probably are scripted, because the way he answered was that the important events are unscripted. So like some of the major orders, like I remember we failed a major order, and then the next major order was, okay, do this, and then you basically get the same result as the last major order. Wasn't it like build something to delay the wormhole? Remember the delay the wormhole major order? We failed that one. And then the very next one was like, okay, here's an easier one. Go delay the wormhole. So I feel like some of the filler is definitely scripted, but like the important, like big events, like he said, we could lose Super Earth. I feel like some of that stuff is unscripted. Did they nerf Leviathan? All they did was make it so it didn't target generators in defense missions. I saw someone with the AC blowing up their armor. Define scripted. So like certain major orders that are meant to fail will fail, and certain major orders that are meant to win for the story will win. They basically chickened out on keeping the bots defeated. Yeah. Pilestat brought that up. He was in my stream one day and he brought that up. But I asked, I forget what I asked when I went to their studio, but I asked something to do with that because I thought that was really interesting. I just forget what I asked. But then at the studio they said that the game director told me, we didn't even think you guys would win the bot major order. We thought you were going to lose because nobody was fighting bots at the start of the game, remember? But then for Operation Disassembly, everybody came to fucking bots, bro. Everybody came. All the bug divers locked in. What's up, Screech? So I feel like some of the more filler major orders probably are scripted because they're just sort of meant to be filler. But I think the major events are not scripted. Like, we could hold Super Earth or we could lose it. And he said that during the interview. I believe him.
If like half of it's not going to be seen, but it's important for.
Hold on, I'm going to rewind actually like 30 seconds.
That part of the fun of this, of just seeing that organic reaction to stuff in game.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of like you set a good stage for them, and then some players at some points think like, well, it's scripted or something, and then we try to make the important events not scripted. So, for instance, here it's like when these airs, like they'll be fighting, and they could lose Super Earth. We've accounted for it, like. We made sure that like that can happen, and or they might repel the invasion, which is also fun with as a developer. Sometimes when you do a lot of work and then you don't know if like half of it's not going to be seen, but it's important for giving them the agency to decide some of the things in the universe.
Okay, so you're saying there is a version of this where Super Earth falls.
Yeah,
there's a contingency you've planned for.
As much as it breaks our heart to think even about Super Earth falling, yes, we have to account for it.
Okay.
So, they have a version of the major order where we hold Super Earth, and they have a version of the major order where we fail Super Earth. But I do want to say it's crazy the way they set up their game. When it comes to the major order, they have to do like double the work because like they need a plan for if we win and they need a plan for if we lose and where it's going to go and what we're going to get. And like they made their game in such a way that they have more on their plate because of it. So it's like a double-edged sword because it's interesting because we could win or lose, but it's also that double-edged sword where they have to do more work because of that. And half of it might not, and like part of it's never going to be seen. Because if we win Super Earth, we're never going to know the failed storyline, right?
And we've had moments in the past where you've laid down a major order to players and they've answered phenomenally well to a point where they've completed it in much faster a pace than I think you folks even imagined. So what, I don't want to say limiters, but what things have you put in place for this particular major update to elongate what this is, or to ensure it isn't completed too quickly?
Advanced napkin math.
Yeah,
that's what I would call it.
We brought our best mathematicians and statisticians and did very convoluted maths on a whiteboard.
Especially since we don't have statisticians.
Exactly, and this is how we're trying not to reveal the secret sauce.
Fair.
It's been it's a lot of guesstimations. Realistically, we've been a bit better at predicting how it's going to turn out, better than when we released the game. And our game master is I've rarely seen him that hyped and prepared and have anticipated a lot of things. So We have more technicalities, Niklas. If you want to explain them, go ahead. I'm too much of a noob
to not technical maybe, but like we have a lot of data. Like I mean, the Galactic War has been running for a while, so the game masters, they know it well. The Joel is all seeing, all knowing. So and like you always do, like we think it's about this, and then you bring random people into our rooms, like, does this calculations look correct? And they're like, and then when you do it with enough people, and then enough people say yes, that makes sense, then you're like, cool. And at some point you just have to commit to it, right? So, and there are, like, balancing effects in the code for the Galactic War, so it can't go absolutely haywire. There are some limiters, but it's still, we still want to do it like a good fight. If the community will be like, nah, let's just see what happens if we don't do anything for some reason, because they're very undemocratic, then they'll see the results of that. But we think people will fight.
Yeah. So it's very much year one is just being a learning curve for you all there.
Bro, I love the adjective undemocratic. Like, oh, you didn't fight on Super Earth, you're undemocratic. It's just really funny.
Sure. Yeah. And you mentioned there that, again, there's a version of this where Super Earth falls, but there's various things that you've created that maybe people don't see at this stage. Are there things then that you've maybe created or planned for that haven't come to fruition because of player action? Does that stuff then just go back into a box, as in, maybe we can come back around to this idea at a later point? Because it would feel awful just to jettison this stuff, right?
I mean, usually it's like sometimes at the beginning you just put it in a box. You don't immediately start, because we have other things planned to do.
Yeah.
We don't immediately start to like, how can we repurpose this? But a lot of times you just come back to it, and you're sitting in the meeting, it's like, don't we have that thing from that time at that place where we did the, and they're like, oh yeah, oh my God, it might work. Yeah. And then you start like fiddling with it. I mean, that's what we have with the whole system. Like before we launched the game, like a year or two before, we had the full weapon customization system in game, but it had a lot of problems with it. But like we had a system. And then after a while, we just like, we can't make it work before we launch the game. So we put it in the cellar. And then after a while, we're just like, well, it's time. And then we just pick it up and see like, how much of this still works? And like, yes, we can make this work. And you like slot it in again.
Yeah. It's a bit of retrofitting sometimes.
Yes, a lot of retrofitting. And the longer the time goes, the more like complicated that dance gets. But that's also the thing. Like we still have some things in the cellar, but like we have brought back so many things since launch that was just like failed experiments, or we didn't get it to fully work, so we couldn't launch with it.
The Airburst rocket launcher on release, bro, that shit was crazy.
I had to say no before the launch because it was too late.
Yeah, because like this is the man of reality, and the rest of us are people of dreams.
Well, is weapon customization one of the highlights of things that maybe fell by the wayside prior, and now you're able to dust off and plug back in?
The weapon customization, the FRV was one of them.
Yes.
The
people have seen other vehicles.
Yeah, exactly. It's that we had a lot of things. When I arrived at Arrowhead, it seemed
we've seen other vehicles. Where's the APC?
Incredible the amount of things that have been created over the years, and we said not yet, because we have our of level of quality or standards of quality. It's good to work with Niklas and the people that have been there for a while, because they have a very good memory, and we're like, this was there.
We have so many. I'm not sure how much we can mention, but like we had indoors, which never worked well. Never worked well. but we had like stuff indoors. Very early, we had vehicles. We had.
Wait, did he mean indoor missions?
While like shriekers came down, picked you up, and dropped you in random places, and there were.
Wait, shriekers picking you up would be crazy.
It's feature creep the game in so many ways. There's much more other things that I can mention that we tried, but yeah, in like when you do a project and work on it for like 8 years, there's gonna be a lot of stuff that you tried and failed with, because at some point you just have to like you have to scope down. Like every production goes into like you just feature creep, and then at some point you have to like, let's make something smaller that is stable and works.
So what's unique?
I wonder what failed about indoor missions. Was it just the fact that you can't really use like eagles or orbitals? Like, what did that mean? Or could they just like, I don't know. I wonder what kind of indoors they tried. Like, are they talking about like Hive Lord caves, or are they talking about like bot bases that you had to go inside of? Like, could they not get like a hell pod to drill through the ceiling so you could use turrets and stuff still?
Then for the super Earth biome that maybe players haven't encountered before.
What is not unique at this point? I think it brings so much. It brings a different gameplay experience, and it's. I'm saying that Niklas should talk about the gameplay. I'm sorry.
No, go on.
From
Bro, the fog was probably really bad indoors. Bro, fog being bad indoors is crazy. Like, the automatons just set up fog machines inside of their bases.
From a very external eye, in a way, it's every time I was seeing the guys playing, I was baffled, because it feels like a new game, because you change the environment drastically. It's very narrow. All of a sudden, your line of sight changes a lot. It's the cities that we see, the colonies as we call them, that on steroids. Plus the added value of like all the Illuminates on the planet, flanking you as much as possible. I think it's that. For me, it feels like a new game. Niklas, you probably have so much more to say about it.
I mean, there's also a scale of it. Like, a lot of the time, players have been on like, they're out in nature. Sometimes you get like small houses, and then we went into like, okay, you can be in colonies and you have bigger houses, and now we're like, we just like pull everything up to 11, and then you also have like the people in the cities. It is sure we're not doing like
city
building and complex masses of people, everything, but like it's enough there to also like give you it's serving you the fantasy of being in a place like that, which is
the civilians are cool for the fantasy, but I'm pretty sure they're eating up the entity limit for the spawns, and that's why there's less enemies on the normal missions. Because one of almost our immediate feedback was that the normal missions for level 10 on squids just do not have enough enemies. On Repel, it does, and I wonder if it's because it's only a 20-minute mission, but they're able to still spawn the same amount of enemies, like, total. Or, like, this, the entity limit or whatever. But on normal missions for level 10, like, they need to get rid of the civilians. They could keep the Seaf, because the Seaf are cool to play with. But, like, bro, the civilians really don't add that much to the game. It does add, like, a vibe and a feeling. But, like, there's no real, like, risk or reward for keeping civilians alive. Like, if you physically kill civilians, you become a traitor, but that's literally it. Like, there's really not much gameplay added with the civilians. It's just kind of a vibe thing. And it's cool. I like the idea, but I just feel like it's makes the gameplay worse.
And I sometimes feel that the setting is almost more important than you can create like complex gameplay mechanics that might be interesting mechanical wise, but it's the fantasy that it sells you that is interesting. It's the setting.
Yeah.
It's the stakes. It's like in a movie, you can have an interesting scene, but why you're there is a lot of the times more important than what is actually in the scene.
Yeah.
And he just said the exact opposite of what I said. He just said the exact opposite of what I said, which is, he said, like I said, that it's bad for gameplay, so I would rather them get rid of it. But he just said the exact opposite, which is the fantasy and the stuff is more important. Which I feel like could be true, like, you know, for this first week or whatever, but it's like, get rid of them now. I don't know. We should do another poll. Let's do another poll. Should they get rid of the civilians? If it means more enemies will spawn in squid missions. So I'm not 100% sure if the civilians are eating up the entity limit. I think that they are, because there's weirdly just way less enemy spawns that should be there. But I could be wrong about that. I don't actually know that for sure. I just suspect it. So would you guys rather there be more civilians? Wait, let me remake this poll. I'm saying for Diff 10. Should they get rid of civilians on Diff 10 if it means more squids will spawn? If you play below Diff 10, I don't care. I don't care about your opinion on this.
Why you're there, who you're there, like who you're beating.
Yeah.
Thick, the civs don't take the enemy AI spawns. There's, it's a different AI system. Spitsfire, do you know that there is an entity limit in the game that is all entities? If you spawn too many mines, if you throw down too many mines, did you know that that eats up the amount of enemies that could spawn? So I am like 90% sure that the amount of civilians spawning is why the enemy spawn limit is so low. I don't think it's the building density, because we had colony maps. Well, I guess it is more buildings, but the colony maps had a lot of the colony maps had a lot of buildings and stuff. I don't think buildings eat up the entity limit. I've seen the mine thing on defense missions, virtually no drop. Yeah, there's an entity limit in game. What's up, Scribbles? Is that why mines go off by themselves? I don't know why that happens. Do Leviathans count as one entity? They... so I don't know about Leviathan specifically, but I'm pretty sure... I forget where I heard this. I forget if I heard this in Stockholm or not, but I'm pretty sure a Bile Titan counts as one entity. So, yes, I would also assume that Leviathans count as one entity, unless they're more for some reason. I'm talking about the AI type cap. Yeah, I'm talking about the entity limit. When you finish a squid game on Diff 10, if you mob out at extract and you farm every single, and you try to farm kills at the end, you let the watchers call in. And you kill as many enemies as you possibly can. There are just less total enemies in the Super Earth missions compared to the squid missions on, where'd they attack first? Widow's Harbor? There's less enemies on Super Earth than there were on Widow's Harbor, literally. Like, we played a 30-minute game. We killed every enemy we saw. We let every watcher call in. And we killed 1,000 enemies, bro. And it was in 30 minutes. Like, if we stayed there for 10 more minutes, maybe we could have pushed to 2,000. But colony missions, when we sat there and killed farmed, we would get like 3,000 enemies more.
It's a
I think repel missions have so many because I don't think the entity limit changes. I don't think the entity limit changes just because it's a shorter game. So it's a shorter game, and it could be that many enemies spawned in a shorter time frame.
It's something we try to formalize as much as possible. Is every time we start a new story arc, there's the fantasy, and fantasy is our priority as much as possible. There's the playground, which is in that case was the city. Fantasy being Super Earth is invaded, and there's the what I call the toys. What's in there that makes it the last sprinkle of spices that makes it different, and it's kind of our recipe or model of recipe that we try to have.
If you farm kill a repel mission, it's like 1,000 kills at the end. Like, it's not more enemies than normal. It's more density.
And
hold on, let me rewind like a minute. Sorry.
Mechanics that might be interesting mechanical wise, but it's the fantasy that it sells you that is interesting. It's the setting.
Yeah.
It's the stakes.
Yeah.
It's like in a movie, you can have an interesting scene, but why you're there is a lot of the times more important than what is actually in the scene.
Yeah.
Like why you're there, who you're there, like who you're beating.
Yeah. It's something we try to formalize as much as possible. Is every time we start a new story arc, there's the fantasy, and fantasy is our priority as much as possible. There's the playground, which is in that case was the city. Fantasy being Super Earth is invaded, and there's the what I call the toys. What's in there that makes it the last sprinkle of spices that makes it different, and it's kind of our recipe or model of recipe that we try to have. And I think we nailed it pretty well this time. It's quite insane to just jump in the cities, they're massive, and get that full-scale invasion. The Galactic War is going to be also slightly different in the way it's represented and everything.
And we'll see. At this point, we're not sure we nailed it, but when it airs, we'll know. Well, we didn't. We cooked.
We cooked. I mean,
I think they nailed the patch. Like, not everything's going to be perfect every time. Like, I do wish there were more enemies spawning in the normal Illuminate missions. But they absolutely nailed the fucking patch, bro. The Super Earth cities are insane. Like, are Leviathans really annoying sometimes? Yeah, they are. But, like, just because, like, a few things are wrong doesn't mean they didn't nail the patch. The patch, like, they went hard on this patch. And it definitely shows. And, like, the weapon customization 1.0, like, they're obviously going to add more to weapon customization. They'll probably add to secondary, support weapons, armor eventually, helmets. Like, you know what I mean? Obviously, they need to add more to weapon customization. But the version of weapon customization we have right now is very polished. And I'm mostly happy with it. Like obviously I want them to add more though, but like it's really good.
Can you just sort of give us a picture, I guess, of when you drop these major updates, these big sort of story arc updates? What's it like in the studio? Are you all in watching the monitors? It's the go live. I mean, is there a sense of celebration there? A sense of relief? What's the general vibe in the studio?
I can tell you a bit about last Tuesday, actually, which was it's interesting because it was only the first step of the invasion, you know, but usually people look at it. They monitor. They look a lot at obviously looking at the social media and the reaction. We always try to have at least one stream going in the lounge that we have in the lounge area of the studio. We always have a few people that are already focused on the next thing, but we try to get a moment of communion. It's something we try to improve a lot because release has been so intense that you're focused on what's next, and it's something we try to get better at. It's okay, pause.
Yeah, you need that moment of reflection, right? Just to
Yeah.
appreciate, pat each other on the back, and we've got this out.
Yeah, because it's for me it's incredible the amount of work and energy poured into each updates, and how like when it's there, it's just amazing.
Yeah, but it's like I say, like people can. It's very easy to just like, cool, that's done. Let's go to let's focus on the next thing.
Yes.
Because whenever we wrap something up, it's very intense. Usually, like to get you want to get so much of the things right. So people get it's like it's a high positive stress because people want to do it justice.
Yeah.
And then getting someone out of that frame of mind would just like relax, just like enjoy it.
Yeah.
Some people are good at that, and some people you kind of like almost have to stop them to just like chill out, like enjoy this moment. That's the thing where we always say, like, we're okay with it, like doing that stuff, but you could always be better, I think.
Yeah.
We have to make sure to properly celebrate all these things because we don't do them that many times a year, and it's like players love it and they almost celebrate it. I wonder if they celebrate it more than we do.
Probably.
But yeah, it's a constant thing of you have to help people almost help themselves because they are very driven. They see the next thing and they're like, yes, like players loved it, and then they're like, we're gonna go as soon as possible to fix the next thing the players love, and then but yeah,
it's sometimes the next thing is as and sometimes more exciting than the previous thing, because we get better at what we do. And sometimes like that, just let me focus on the next update. I just want to go there.
but people get tired when they do that.
But that's that.
That's that.
It must be a thing though, where you've got, as we were talking earlier on about, like you've got these so many ideas in the box, banked. But as a live service title, you're having to balance the ideas that you've had cooking for a while,
Yes.
player feedback to the immediate thing, new ideas that are, I'm sure, popping up in your heads just in the moment. So juggling all that, how do you juggle all that?
It's an art. It's finding ways to, from a production standpoint, split the team into ways that make sense, not releasing everything all the time at the same time. It's a bit of planning gymnastic. When I'm saying we're getting better at releasing, it's also part of this. So
it's in the beginning when the title launched.
Yeah.
We were like, let's do a lot of stuff instantly, and like try and get. We like this. We almost like released on each and every week.
Yeah.
We try to release something because you get like almost this high of getting the player satisfaction, their reaction from it, and also like building a bigger game. But after a while, you also have to realize, also when it comes to like vision wise, that if we want to do this for many, many years, we have to have something left.
Yeah.
And also be something.
And that's why they drip feed. I'm just kidding. Except real, though. It's funny because it's true.
Something left of us. So you have to like pace yourself, build the long-term planning so you can like really know like, what are we doing in this many years? It's like, okay, after 2 years, how will the game look? After 5 years, how will it look? And like, are we burning like all the cool ideas instantly, or are we spreading them out? Well, are we? Because there's like a feeling that you always have of just like, oh, we have a lot of players now, let's show them everything. And then you like try to do way too much, way too fast, and maybe you don't deliver it as cooked as it should be, or you burn people out. But I think we've started to get into a good mindset of how we do it for a long time and still keep it like an interesting, good story, like good content. And in the beginning, we would just like entertain them constantly, like always new stuff. And because it was almost like you want to show them all the new toys, like, oh, hey, look at this thing, oh, look at that thing. And like, because we have all this stuff that we just, I can just fix it up a little bit. And like, here, look at it.
You got to breadcrumb it a little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
a little bit. We got better at that.
I think there's always been an anxiety of, we don't want to let the players down, and but we want to trust them that as soon as we want to cook a little bit more, they will wait, and this has been right when we did it. Now we also want to listen to our developers and say like, okay, do you need more time to cook? Yes, okay, let's believe in it.
Yeah, it's like the first year of the live service was almost like, okay, we got to prove to the community that we can do this. Like, trust us.
Yeah.
Like it will take us a while to gain stride, but like we can do this stuff. And then now we kind of like, okay, we show we can do it, and now we also need to continue doing it in a pace that doesn't burn everyone out. And it feels like the community are understanding, which is like, okay, you guys are releasing, we know what you can do, and you are releasing in a reasonable pace for the sanity of the studio, and also for like enough
absolutely
cool stuff so the community likes it. Because there's also like, there's the version of like, let's just do triple the amount of people and do insane development, but then like the company and the soul of the company changes, and then it will probably pretty fast turn into a game or a title or like a version of business that people don't enjoy. We want to keep close to our core and like our beliefs and how we do games.
Exactly.
Well, it's the proof of you saying, let them cook. And you're not showing everything at once.
Yeah.
And the Illuminate, they arrived, but now with this sort of step one of this Super Earth invasion storyline, you've got new enemy types being brought in.
Yeah.
Chad, have you guys noticed a lot of game devs recently saying, we're cooking, let us cook? Because I swear Arrowhead started saying this like last year before everyone else started saying it, but like I swear other game devs are saying this now. And it's played out. We need a new phrase for it. We need a new phrase now, chat.
Of that particular faction. So that must be stuff you've had cooking for a while and thought, well, we're not going to deploy just yet. We're going to drop these in when the time's right, and this time feels right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then there's the game of production. Sometimes we see something that is not quite on quality or has other production risks, and we say, okay, put it out of the branch, let it simmers a little bit, and then release it on time. And it creates also great opportunities on how we tell the stories. It created sometimes good moments like, oh, this will wait a little bit more. And our game master is like, great, I can craft something around it. So it's...
like we could have maybe spread out like how we released the enemies, but it's like you want the big punch. Like the battle for Super Earth becomes a more memorable moment when you have enough stuff like into it. It's the same thing with like if we would have released, or if we would have went to Super Earth at the same time as we released weapon customization, like same week, then you get like it's almost like too much at the same time.
Yes.
And then you lose some of the the excitement about one feature because maybe some people were more excited about the other feature. So we wanted to give it like enough space to be its own thing.
Well, gents, look, I do realize time.
I think since some people in chat are bringing it up, I think the slow pacing is actually good, and it's healthier for the studio as well. And I think the proof is in the player counts. Like the Omens of Tyranny drop back in December was 150k player count, right? That was like the first huge spike since launch. Like, you know, on launch we popped the fuck off 500k. But Omens of Tyranny was the huge spike since launch, 150k. And then almost 5 months later, 14th of December to 13th of May. Yeah, almost exactly 5 months later. We had the squids come back to Widow's Harbor, 100k player counts, and then the invasion of Super Earth. And it broke the peak of Omens of Tyranny. And this is actually a really good pacing for 2 reasons. It's better for the devs because they're able to actually get better updates out. And one thing you have to admit is when Omens of Tyranny dropped, the game was actually playable. There were no game-breaking bugs. The performance was actually pretty good. And then when Super Earth dropped, the performance was surprisingly good, even though they added freaking skyscrapers on this update. And right before this patch, the performance was pretty bad. Like, we were getting like 40 FPS literally right before this update. And then when this update came out, we're getting 60 FPS again. And this kind of like content drop is actually good. Because it's more fulfilling updates. Like, and what you have to realize and accept, even if you're a live service game, is that yes, portions of the community make live service games their full-time jobs, and this is the only game they play, or like, you know, the primary game they play, and you know, they don't play it all the time. But the majority of people don't do that. So for the majority of people, they play on a new update for a few days, for a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then they kind of fall off until the next big update. And it's actually better, it's more sustainable to do it this way. And even if there's big lengths of time before big updates, and remember, we did get Predator Strain and Gloom, well, I don't know, the Gloom bugs didn't last long, but we did get Predator Strain in between as well. There is this in-between phase that we did get, you know what I mean? And then I think Firebots were around this area. So, like, we did have some stuff in between. It just wasn't huge. So it's not like nothing happened in between. Like, personally, I think that this is what they should be doing. And I think it's very normal if a month or 2 in, you get bored and you go play something else for a little bit. Like, that's how it should be. You know what I mean? So, like, I think the pacing is actually really good. And this is how they should do it. It's a little bit longer. And I know some people are unhappy about that. Like, some of you guys are commenting on that. But yeah.
Ticking, and you have things to do. I'll just close out one less of a question, more just like a congratulations, because I'm sure everybody under the sun has already congratulated you on the BAFTA wins back in April. So multiplayer and music, yes. I believe, are the two nods that you both got. I know you're making games. You're not making games for the intent of getting an award or the reward of it, but it must be satisfying to have that recognition come through. I mean, it's not the only awards this game has won, but each time you do, it must be like, again, another one of those moments that allows you to take stock, pause, consider what you've done, and just enjoy it for what it is.
It's great. It's fascinating. We have now shelves with all the awards that we got through the history of Arrowhead. Actually, we have a few for Helldivers as well. But this has been the greatest rewards in a way that some of them are the recognition of the players. Some of
I feel like you said the opposite before about the pacing, because I didn't. I posted a YouTube video, or maybe I did a stream. No, I did a YouTube video. If you 2 months ago, if you look at my "We need to talk about the Galactic War problem in Helldivers," I brought up this point exactly, and I compared it to Path of Exile. Because Path of Exile takes about 3 to 4 months in between league resets and major patches. Yeah, so it was this video. I talked about exactly what I just said 2 months ago. So I have had this opinion for at least 2 months, longer than that, because I had that opinion for a while before I put it in that video.
Are the recognition of our peers for the BAFTAs, for example.
Yeah.
And it's we're grateful for that. It's it's a lot of work. It's sort of the talented people of the studio, and it's the greatest recognition. Yeah.
It's a good reminder. Like it's almost like an object for reflection, because you think back, like, why did you get it, and what, like, all the stories behind it, and that you actually did something good. Like we have, when you get into the office, we have a wall where we just write up, or the first week, like we wrote up quotes from players to what they said about the game. And it's also a thing where you could just look at it, just like, oh, this meant this much to these people. We have people that share very like personal stories, or like reconnecting with like
friends.
old friends or family members. Some even found their family, like lost family members and stuff through the game, and then they wrote about it, and then we take that piece and like we put it up, so we have reminders that what the game does for people. Because like why we do the games and how we do them, and why we do co-op games, etc., is to like we have all bonded when we grew up through games, and we want to give a lot of that back. It's a big part of like why the studio does what we do, is the connection between people, finding friends. We're trying to make sure that like we design the games so the interaction between people are as like positive usually as it can be. We want to have that most of the time, or the vast majority of the time, you have positive interactions with other people, and you find friends and make connections, and then you hang out, and then it's that type of thing. And all the quotes that we've written, and then all the awards, all of it is a good reminder that we're doing something good.
Yeah,
we're not just like, I don't know, doing stuff so we can get money. It is more like doing something so we can have a positive influence on the gaming industry and the community that plays them.
Yes.
I believe that, to be honest, as well. Because if they were doing things for money, you wouldn't be able to farm super credits in-game. So I do think that they're like actually trying to do a good job and not trying to rush things out. Like Gvert said, they do need to work on QA. And Gvert's whole comment is tired of new content being plagued with bugs and new gear being released in underpowered state. Like, I mean, for what it's worth, that's just the last war bond. Like, Servants of Freedom was a good war bond. I guess Borderline Justice was a little bit underpowered. Borderline Justice wasn't super strong, but it was good. Only the last war bond was really underpowered, not gonna lie. But yeah, so, I mean, they add, like, I wouldn't, the last few patches have been plagued with bugs for sure. Like, before this update, the performance was probably at an all-time low. I can't remember a time in Helldivers where the performance was worse than right before Widow's Harbor. And it was like that since, like, February. From, like, February to literally 3 weeks ago, the performance was horrendous. It was so bad. And they do need to really test their bug fixes, because it's like, Remember when the autocannon wasn't reloading and then they fixed that and then the Quasar's infinite firing? Like, that is some crazy spaghetti shit. That is some crazy spaghetti. That, like, you fix the autocannon reload and it makes the Quasar infinite fire. Or was it the laser weapons? One of the two. And that's definitely something hard to find. Okay, the Quasar would have been easy to find. But, like, I feel like if you're doing QA for a patch, you need to drop into a game with every single weapon and every single stratagem and shoot it, reload it, do some weird animation cancel with it. Like, throw it at enemies, see what happens. Make sure it looks normal. And, like, I feel like if you just checklist one of everything, it's like a 4-hour process. The Southwest... Okay, Southwest was impossible to find. I have no idea how that random ass... I mean, when you have a game with millions of players, someone finds it, right? But, like, dude, the Southwest glitch, I cannot blame them for not finding that. I cannot blame them for not finding Southwest. And neither can you, Tin Man. Bro, how do you, like, the dude who realized the Eruptor was spawning the shrapnel southwest of the bullet, that's an insane find. Sounds like they need to do a better job of encapsulation. Changing the stats of one gun shouldn't be able to change the behavior of another gun. I mean, I have no idea why certain game engines work the way they do. I don't know anything about coding. Okay? I don't know anything. I have no idea about game development. But, like, if they fix the autocannon reload, it breaks laser weapons and lets them fire forever if you reload and swap weapons, or the Quasar, one of the two. I forget which one it was. Like, that's something with their engine, right? Like, something with the Stingray engine. And I don't know if they can fix that. Like, and that's why I say, like, the QA on every single build needs to just load in one at a time and not spawn in, load in to a normal game on the build with each weapon equipped one at a time, shoot it fully, reload it, swap weapons while reloading, test some weird animation cancel, make sure it works normal, go shoot some enemies with it real quick, with the game, load in with the next gun, and stratagem, and just make sure everything's working normally. Because the other thing as well is, and that's why I am able to find stuff so easily as a YouTuber, because this is what I do almost every patch. I don't test every gun every patch. Well, when I was posting tier lists every patch, as I did, but that's my point. That's why I'm able to find stuff super easily like that, because when I post a tier list every patch, that means I'm testing every gun every patch. So when there is a new bug in the game, it's a lot easier for someone like me to find it, because, like, I damn near do QA as my job on YouTube. Like, me posting a tier list every patch means I test every gun every patch, which I don't do that anymore. I should probably start doing that again. But, like, once you start doing that every patch and you get used to doing that every patch, it becomes quicker and easier to find weird stuff. Haven't they added a newer engine? No. I've worked in software QA. You have documented testing plans that your QA team run through each time a new software version is committed. They do not have great QA if this happens. I mean, like, when they're... I don't even 100% know, is it the QA's fault either? Because, like, let's say there's a bug on a test build, or I'm sorry, let's say there's not a bug on a test build. When they port that into the live build, does it create a bug? So, like, is it even the QA's fault? Probably. But, like, you know what I mean? I don't know. There could just be weird variables that I don't know about. Yeah, there's definitely poor version control. I think it's version control and QA. The creation kit for Fallout has issues like that. You change a grenade explosion, and it can change explosions for anything using that effect. Yeah, but we're not talking about that. So that's like how the explosion of the frag grenade is the same explosion in the airburst launcher. So when they buffed frag grenades, they buffed the airburst launcher. That's not even what we're talking about. We're talking about how when the autocannon wasn't reloading and they fixed that bug, now lasers were able to fire infinitely. That's something that is not sharing assets. You know what I mean? Yo, what's up, TV? No, yeah, it's definitely QA's fault. But it's also poor version control. Like, it's got to be both of those things. Because, like, I have a feeling that there are some things that even the best QA tester couldn't find. And then also, it's definitely QA's fault as well. Because I don't know, dude. There's certain bugs that, like, my first game I load into, I find it. Like the stratagem issue today. The first game I loaded into, I couldn't frickin' throw my stratagem. And I'm like, bro, what is this? And then I mess with it for 5 minutes. And I'm like, oh, it's when I type it in too fast. I wonder if they're relying on third-party devs and having problems with that. They weren't expecting the game to blow up like it did. But are they relying on third-party devs for QA? All right, it sounds like this interview's over.
It's a